$1.1 billion in federal funding for public media has been eliminated, a decision that could mean fewer local reporters, fewer stories that connect us, and fewer journalists holding power to account. As the NPR network enters a new chapter, your support is critical. Your donation today can make a difference. Donate by visiting donate.npr.org.
Primal Kitchen is known for outrageously delicious sauces and condiments, and now their pure avocado oil can be a staple in your kitchen too. With its high smoke point, neutral flavor, and healthy fats, it's perfect for grilling, baking, sautéing, marinating, whatever you're cooking. Primal Kitchen pure avocado oil gets the job done. Pure, quality tested, and trusted. Grab a bottle at Walmart stores nationwide or online at walmart.com.
The Kia Sportage Turbo Hybrid has a bold design, a spacious interior with 232 horsepower, and a 12.3-inch panoramic display to keep the adventure going and fit with the way you live. And with SiriusXM, every drive comes alive, bringing you closer to the music, sports, talk, and podcasts you love, right in your vehicle or on the SiriusXM app. Every SiriusXM-equipped Kia Sportage Turbo Hybrid includes a 3-month trial subscription to SiriusXM, so the experience begins the moment you drive. Learn more at kia.com/sportage-hybrid. Kia, movement that inspires.
Hey, it's Chris K from Target, wishing you and yours a very Merry Christmas. Hit it! Dasher, give me some jingle bells. Dancer, Prancer, let's hear a beat. Mouse chorus! Oh, it's a beautiful job, everybody! All right, now bring it home. Happy holidays, everybody.
With fall in full swing, more moments call for more comfort. Mack Weldon's got you covered with comfortable, easy-to-layer clothes designed for cooler days and timeless style. Their new Ace line, inspired by their best-selling sweatpants, combines everyday comfort with long-lasting and confident looks you can count on. For over a decade, Mack Weldon has designed timeless, innovative menswear to help you move through the day with confidence. Not flashy, just classic, always in style, and made from the world's most comfortable performance materials. Fall into comfort with Mack Weldon's Ace collection. Go to MackWeldon.com and get 20% off your first order of $125 or more with promo code MAC25. That's MackWeldon.com, promo code MAC25.
Hello, this is international football commentator Derek Ray, and you're listening to the Ranks FC podcast.
Hello, Ranks Squad, and welcome to Champions League Takeaway here on Ranks FC. Your look back at all of Tuesday's Champions League action. My name's Jack Collins, and I'll be your host today. And joining me across the water, all the way from San Diego, it's Mr. Dean Jones. How you doing, mate?
Better than Mo Salah, I'd say. It's probably about as good as I could describe my own situation now, Jack. It's lovely here in San Diego. It's about 78 degrees today. It's absolutely boiling.
Can you give that to me in logical terms?
No, I've never done Celsius. I've always done Fahrenheit because it sounds much more exciting. I'm guessing 21, 22.
25.
25, is it? Mate, it's beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. It feels like summer's back. So that's nice. Dylan's birthday tomorrow was my birthday at the weekend. We just watched the Champions League. I'm fine, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. I tell you what, I'm a bit disappointed in the Champions League tonight. The last time we recorded a Champions League takeaway, we had 42 goals to work through. Only 26 tonight.
Mate, you probably deserve a rest, though. Doesn't it make your life easier? Like, there was some times...
It does a bit.
There was some times when, in my journalism career, I'd look forward to a 0-0.
You just got to find different angles to talk about. I suppose.
Well, one of my things I always did when going to a game, I would always have in my back pocket like an intro for what's the story going to be if each team wins, and it's like it's not an obvious story, and also what am I going to talk about if it's boring. And so I'd kind of have a version written already. And there were times, Jack, when I might have had half the report written, before the game started. And if it was 0-0, I could stick with it. Sit there, have your cup of tea and watch the game.
There you go.
That's what you should have been doing tonight, sir.
There wasn't any 0-0s,
There wasn't.
so we can't say that. There was 0 0-0s, although there were 3 1-0s, and it's with one of those that we're going to start. Obviously, Liverpool have been the big talking point for much of the week. On pitch, off pitch, there's been drama all over the place regarding all things Reds, and Anfield has not been a happy camp by all accounts, but Liverpool went to San Siro, went to the Giuseppe Meazza, and they won 1-0 against Inter thanks to a late Dominik Szoboszlai penalty. And all of the noise just slightly quietened down for the time being. How did it go?
It went well. I mean, they've put in a shift for Arne Slot, which is very important to note because they played for their manager here. And Salah won't be very happy, I don't think, with the outcome of this. I spoke the other day about how, with the circumstances in which Salah was able to come out and have his moan, his big interview, was sparked by the fact that Leeds did get that late equaliser, and it gave him the opportunity to set that agenda that he was a victim, that he deserved to be out there, he should be out there. This time around, it's gone in the other direction, because at 0-0, you could have made a case that at least having Salah to come on off the bench would have potentially been a difference maker, but he wasn't there. He was posting selfies from the gym and he was probably on the couch watching this. And as it so happened, Liverpool this time got a late winner in one of the most difficult stadiums in the Champions League to go and do that. And it was a penalty, which he would usually have taken. And in fact, this time it was taken by their actual best player, Dominik Szoboszlai. So I don't think this game helps Salah's agenda very much at all, because this, even at 0-0, was looking like, from my perspective, a good Liverpool result. Inter weren't at their best. It took them a while to get going.
Yeah, a couple of injuries in the first half as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, that disrupted them for sure. But they were slow to get going, and that definitely benefited Liverpool. And then Liverpool have a goal ruled out from VAR. So Kounde, that man that Arne Slot says is often at the crime scene, was seemingly in a good place this time to nod home. And it looked like he'd put Liverpool 1-0 up. And only this time he'd probably argue he was robbed, so he was at a crime scene. A handball from Ekitike, which Jamie Carragher tried to argue at half-time was harsh. I mean, it's not. His arm nudges the ball in the direction of Kounde. Yes, Van Dijk heads it, but it's the arm that takes it in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, it's one of those, though, that it gets given in the Premier League because it's a non-deliberate handball and he's not the goal scorer. But in the Champions League, it doesn't. And there's not much more to argue than that, right? The rules are different in the two competitions. Yeah. You have to just sort of suck it up and get on with it.
I was surprised it took as long as it did. Because once you saw the replay, you're like, yeah, they're not going to give this. What actually happened in that moment was that it kind of brought Inter to life. It gave them an opportunity to have a good spell in the game. Thuram was able to rattle Liverpool a few times. Even though they'd had to make the substitutions, they started to take hold of the midfield a little bit better. But what I will say for Liverpool is that even in those moments when the game wasn't necessarily going their way, they showed traits that haven't been there, and they continue to do that. Liverpool have lacked physicality, work rate and bottle at times this season, and all three of those elements were there during this display. And I thought that was really important. And as we were getting towards the end of the game, I'm starting to become more and more positive about it. I thought Curtis Jones did really well. Then Bradley comes off the bench. He had a really positive impact. Looked like he might even turn out to be the match winner. And then with 5 minutes left, Liverpool get a lucky penalty. I do think it's lucky.
It's soft. It's a shirt pull.
Mate, Vitt just makes so much of it. And fair play, he's got what he wanted and he's gotten the points. But
yeah, I mean,
I get it.
if you don't go down there, you don't get anything, right? Like, it's one of those. And we criticize, I'm always kind of torn on this because we criticize people for going down too easily, but also we see constantly that if players don't go down, they get nothing. So like, we're kind of stuck between stations until something is done to rectify that mismatch in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Wirtz was never in control of the situation. He was never going to get to the ball. Bastoni's already like kind of had hold of his... This happens all the time, by the way. Every single attack, players have hold of each other's shirts. It's impossible a lot of the time to not do that. One for balance, one out of instinct. It's not because he's trying to stop Wirtz from scoring a goal, because he ain't going to score a goal from there. It's just instinctive. And Bastoni's not happy afterwards. He's fuming, in fact. Inter's complaints will probably go on into the night, but it had seemed as the game wore on that it was going to take a mistake to decide the game, if it was going to be decided, and I guess that you could deem a mistake. Szoboszlai stepped up. It took about 3 minutes or so for the penalty to be actually put on the spot, and there he stood, mate. Their actual player of the season. Never mind Mo Salah and his ego. Sat back home. This is Szoboszlai, the man who has actually stood up every single week, the man who's come up with important goals, the man who's played various different positions, the one who you can never, ever question his attitude and work rate. And he stood over that ball. There was absolutely no mistake. A brilliant penalty from Szoboszlai. And there he was, Liverpool players celebrating, throwing Mo Salah under a bus, because this team doesn't need Mo Salah. And now they've got to figure out what happens next. Slot finally has to have that conversation with Salah now. If he hasn't already had it, I'll be surprised if he hasn't. I mean, surely he's had a conversation with him about it by now. But he says he hasn't. Maybe in the presser afterwards, as we're speaking about this here, he's shedding more light on it. But the assumption is that between now and the weekend, some harsh words are said between the two. And then we find out what Salah's actual future at Liverpool will be. But this was, from my perspective, another example of how Liverpool can be better and can live without Mo Salah.
Yeah, I mean, look, you and I slightly differ on our viewpoints of the situation. Like, I think that Salah has a case. I don't think this is the way I would have handled it, but I think he has a case to point out the fact that, Cody Gakpo has played so many games and has also been incredibly ineffective
He didn't say that, though.
Throughout the entire season. No, I know, but I think if he was going to that point and being like, I'm the one being left on the bench. No, but you say I'm the one being left on the bench, and actually, look at the other side where people, I shouldn't be the only scapegoat here. And look, I take that point, right? We're not having that argument. We've done that on Patreon. Go and sign up. Go and listen. We've had the full discussion on this
Christmas
one.
Present. Come on, people.
Exactly. But I think that it's interesting that Cody Gakpo was dropped here. I think that's intriguing from a Liverpool perspective. And the thing I wanted to ask you about was what you thought the lineup looked like on paper, because I've seen it shedded in a load of different ways, across the board. With Szoboszlai on the right, Isak through the middle, Ekitike off the left. I've seen it put as a kind of diamond in the middle with Gravenberch, Szoboszlai and Jones sort of floating out wide, and McAllister in the 10.
That was one of the things I liked about it. It was flexible. I thought Isak, starting to wonder, still another 90 minutes when he hasn't got through it, and he's been substituted again, and he hasn't scored a goal again. But
I thought he was relatively ineffective from what I saw as well.
Ekitike is the best one through the middle. Like, every single time for me, I'd have Ekitike going through the middle. And then what I like about Liverpool when they have Curtis Jones is the fact that he can play up there on the flank, or he can interchange with Szoboszlai. And he ends up in that forward position, and they can interchange. So, yeah, you're right. Like, almost every lineup actually that I looked at too had them all in different positions. Like, Ekitike on the left, Isak through the middle, Jones on the right, or Szoboszlai, or whatever. But it was pretty flexible throughout the game. Although, as I say, I think that you're better off getting Ekitike through the middle. The problem is they've signed Alex Isak, saying he's going to become the best striker in the world. And that's the next problem for Slot. Never mind the Salah stuff. Like, what about Isak? But what was even better than worrying about the dynamics of the front line is the way that everybody worked for each other. I think that's a massive positive for Arne Slot, because it was a game when you weren't sure whether he'd have the full support of his dressing room. And did the team support him or did they support Salah? Are there even sides in this, or are they just going to put up their professional wall and get on with doing their actual jobs? I don't know. I don't know if they really care about Slot or not. Ultimately, they had a football match to go and play, and they've done it. So I am kind of impressed with the fact that they have gone to, as I say, one of the most difficult places to go. They've caught Inter on a good day.
Inter were in sensational form up to this, right? Like the win over Como was their best performance of the season, I think. The 5-1 over Venezia, all right, take it with a pinch of salt, it's the Coppa Italia, but like in the last week, they've scored 9 goals, right? They've been really, really impressive across those 2 games. They come into this off the back of, as I say, their best performance of the season by my mark. So to be at home there against a Liverpool side that were reeling, that everyone was like, what's this going to look like? I tell you what, last week on the radio, I was talking about Liverpool and team spirit and saying that, this felt like a team of individuals rather than the kind of coherent side that we've seen all put together, under the many years of Jurgen Klopp and carrying on into last season. And then suddenly you're looking at it and saying, wow, okay, there's something that's still bonding them together. There's still some sort of link there. And for them to put in a cohesive display in that nature, probably more important than the actual result in some regards. So I think that's very, very interesting within its own right. Anyway, we will leave Liverpool there. They can be happy. The noise is quietened for a couple of days at least with that win over Inter. Let's go to Barcelona. They won 2-1 against Eintracht Frankfurt. Dean, when I tell you that Barcelona scored 2 goals in 3 minutes to turn this game around, what odds would you have given me before the game on them both being Jules Koundé headers?
I haven't actually seen the second goal yet. It's funny because I've just gone to press play because I've got it paused behind me. I didn't know that the second one was a header. I'd have given you 30-1, 33-1.
Well, okay, can I try and push that up? Because Jules Koundé has never scored 2 goals in any senior professional game of football before in his entire career.
Wow. But the chances are, if they were going to happen, they'd both be headers, so I don't think that odd would have changed.
Yeah, I mean, look, let's take this kind of stroke by stroke, but I think that is quite amusing in many ways. I mean, look, this was the first game back at Camp Nou, right, in the Champions League after a nearly 3-year absence. It was a big occasion. And yet the fact that it was against Eintracht kind of hung over it within itself because the disgrace of that 2022 Europa League quarterfinal hung over it a bit, right? Like the last time Barcelona played Eintracht at home at Camp Nou, there was that game where it was a bank holiday, I believe, in Catalonia. And basically all the Barcelona fans were just being offered unbelievable sums of money by the traveling Eintracht support. And the entire crowd was like a whiteout. Like everyone was just in Frankfurt shirts. And it was seen as a bit of a disgrace by the club. So the ticketing system has been really, really tight for this one. It was only members. It didn't go on general sale. And every single ticket was tracked to the members' number to be like, we do not sell our tickets to away fans. So that actually, in this return to European football at their spiritual home, it wasn't going to be the same situation again. So that kind of hung over the whole game. And when Eintracht took the lead, I was intrigued to see what the crowd looked like, but turns out it was just the away fans that went up for this one. Not quite the old Highline excuse for the opener. It's a little bit sloppy from Gerard Martin and Alex Balde, but mostly it's just unbelievable work from Nathaniel Brown, right? Like he dances through a couple of challenges and then he literally flicks the ball over the top. It evades Martin's touch. And then Ansgar Nauf, who's playing as a makeshift number 9, bounces Balde's chasing challenge. He needs to get stronger. Like that is not good enough as a chasing defender, especially against Knauf, who's kind of a relatively lightweight footballer anyway. And he does the rest with a really good finish across Joan Garcia. Really poor first half, I thought, from Barcelona. They just didn't seem to get it going at any real point, which is weird considering they've just been on the best run that they've been on all season. They've taken the lead at the top of La Liga. They have a 4-point gap to Real Madrid. They were 5 points behind after the Clásico, and in that five game stretch since, they've now got a 4-point lead. That's an incredible turnaround. And, the win over Atleti was a big one. That scoring 5 goals against Betis at the weekend. Okay, maybe the chaos of that game took it out of them a little bit. But I really expected more for them in this first game back under the lights at their home in the Champions League, the one that they're desperate to win again. But they turned it up in the second half. They found a way through, as I say, in quite unfamiliar style. Firstly, a really good Marcus Rashford cross where Kounde races in behind the defender and sort of dives in to head home. The second one's a bit weirder. Lamine Yamal goes over to that side and he sort of up and unders the ball. It's like a real kind of hoof it in the air, like a catch you'd see in rugby in some ways. And Kounde was there again. This time it sort of landed on his head and he headed it across the keeper. Really, really good finish, that one. And I thought it was really interesting that Barcelona at that point really ramped through the gears. And Eintracht tucked back into shape at 2-1 down. Now, this is an Eintracht side who lost 6-0 to admittedly very, very good RB Leipzig at the weekend. But the last thing I expected them to do was tuck into their shape and try and defend it. But they did it quite well. They let Barcelona have the ball. They tried to counterattack. And then it came on with about 10 minutes to go. Top Moller did a really good thing. He brought on Chanazun. And as the second half had gone on, Eric Garcia, who was playing in the pivot, and I thought, really grew in influence throughout the game, was completely in control of the entire pitch in front of him. He was pulling the strings from that deep roll. I was like, okay, wow. Chanazun comes on and he's like, man mark him. And suddenly Eintracht were finding these spaces they hadn't been finding all game. And that last 5 minutes, they really hit the throttle to try and steal a point, which was an interesting tactic. And despite some very chaotic defending from Barcelona towards the end of this, they got the job done. 3 important points, and they move back up the table. And I didn't necessarily want to just bring the stats up because if you watch Lamine Yamal's assist, it really is a bizarre one in that he just genuinely loops the ball into the air. It's not like aimed at anyone, and it's a brilliant header from Kounde. Yeah. But he gets the assist, and he now has the most goal involvements by a player aged 18 or younger in Champions League history. He broke Kylian Mbappe's record of 13. Lamine Yamal has 7 goals, 7 assists, hasn't turned 19 yet.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they're even out there at 18 is preposterous. So the fact they've got stats like that alongside them is even more insane, isn't it? So a lot to be said for that. But, that says something about Barca, the fact that they've come from behind to turn that around. And Nathaniel Brown is actually somebody that I was writing about earlier in the day, actually. He's been scouted by a lot of teams for the impact that he's been making at Frankfurt. So I'd written about him before kickoff, and I was thinking, it'd be handy if he could have a role tonight, which is a bit standout for when that story goes out later. And truly he did. That was a really, really nice assist, wasn't it?
Glorious assist. Also, it's the little bit before the ball's great. The ball in its own would be worth talking about. But it's the fact that he wins the ball back, then dances through a couple of challenges, drives into the opposition half, and then this inch perfect ball into the path of Knauf. It's a really, really good bit of work from a player who has grown in stature, half American, half German, and has recently made his debut for the German national team. He's having a very, very good campaign.
Yeah, Tottenham, one of the teams looking at him at the moment. But yeah, Kounde to the rescue, as you say. So not the most likely of stats in that sense, particularly when you've got Rafinha and Lamine and Lewandowski and Rashford to come on, that you're relying on, as you say, a double that's never happened before. But maybe it's the magic of the new stadium, mate. It's the fortress, even with no fans in it. Some fans in it.
Yeah, some fans in it. Pushes Barcelona up to 14th. It would still take quite a lot, I think, for them to finish in the top 8 from here.
What's the gap?
Especially with a couple of teams. They're on 10 points. Okay. 10 points they're on at the moment. So they're only a couple behind the teams in those slots. But, they're probably going to need to win both, I think, is the interesting thing. So you look at the rest of the games that they have, in the Champions League, and you're thinking, okay, you've got to go and win away at Slavia Prague, and then you've got to beat Copenhagen at home. Now, on paper, you say, okay, Barcelona win those both. Maybe they sneak in 8th, right? But also, on paper, you would have said that they would have probably beaten Club Brugge, who sacked their manager today. And they drew 3-3 with them before the international break. So, you know what? It all goes up in the air. Barcelona on a very good run of form. That makes it, I believe, 7 wins in a row, perhaps, for Barcelona. So finally starting to find some rhythm. It still doesn't look perfect, and Eintracht had their moments tonight, but a step in the right direction, I think, for Hansi Flick and Barcelona, and just really starting to to get in their groove a little bit. And their next couple of fixtures look quite soft as well from a domestic perspective before they play Villarreal just before Christmas, which is a big, big test at El Madrigal. Right, we're going to take a little break there. When we come back, we're going to be looking at Chelsea's visit to Bergamo and Spurs hosting Slavia Prague. Make sure you stick with us here on Ranks FC.
Traditions are a game changer. Traditions have the power to turn a simple moment into a memory. Bring a whole city together. And they're even what inspires us at Tostitos to make our masa the traditional way. Starting with whole corn kernels. No artificial flavors, colors, or preservatives. We craft our chips for whatever your tradition is. Tostitos. Tradition matters. Official chip and dip sponsor of the NFL.
If you're an HVAC technician and a call comes in, Grainger knows that you need a partner that helps you find the right product, fast and hassle-free. And you know that when the first problem of the day is a clanking blower motor, there's no need to break a sweat. With Grainger's easy-to-use website and product details, you're confident you'll soon have everything humming right along. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I like things my way. My coffee, my schedule, and my treatment. So I talked to my doctor about self-injecting with the Vyvgart Hytrulo pre-filled syringe, which contains Efgartigimod alpha and hyaluronidase QVFC. It's injected under your skin, subcutaneously. It means I can inject in my space, on my time. It's my treatment, my way. Visit VyvgartMyWay.com. That's VYVGART myway.com. And talk to your doctor about Vyvgart Hytrulo. Brought to you by Argenix.
DSW, birthplace of the humble brag. Here, the shoes are so good, no one would ever know how little you paid. If you didn't go telling everyone, that is. And with never-ending options for every style, mood, and occasion, all at really great prices. We'll definitely give you something to brag about. So go ahead, stock up on fresh sneakers from your favorite brands. Or try those boots you always secretly knew you could pull off. Find the shoes that get you at prices that get your budget at DSW stores or DSW.com.
Everybody sleeps, but no two people sleep alike. At Coop Sleep Goods, we celebrate the way you sleep differently. We believe everyone deserves a great night's sleep with their own pillow, and the adjustable, customizable Coop pillow makes it easy. Whether you're a side sleeper, a back sleeper, or even a starfish, we've got the perfect pillow for you. Crafted with our innovative memory foam and microfiber fill, our hypoallergenic pillows adjust to you and not the other way around. Just tailor the fill for the perfect fit. Add some in, take some out, until your pillow's just right for you. See why luxury hotels and spas worldwide feature Coop Sleep Goods and why we have tens of thousands of 5-star reviews. With our 100-night risk-free trial, you've got nothing to lose except those sleepless nights. Get 20% off your first order when you visit coopsleepgoods.com/podcast news. That's COOP sleepgoods.com/podcast news.
Welcome back to Champions League Takeaway here on Ranks FC, and it's over to Bergamo we go next, where Atalanta beat Chelsea 2-1 in perhaps one of the most shocking scorelines that we saw tonight, perhaps the shock scoreline of the evening. Yeah. And you know what, Dean? This was a really good game of football for a neutral, like a really enjoyable game of football. I imagine that Chelsea fans are currently spitting feathers because of the way that they played in the second half of this game. But as a neutral, I thought it swung quite nicely. It was an even first half, even though Chelsea went in 1-0 up at the break. Atalanta came out of the blocks really, really quickly and started to push, and Chelsea grew into it, kind of wrested control back, then took the lead, had a couple of opportunities at the start of the second half, then Atalanta equalised, and then they go ahead, and Chelsea pushing towards the latter stages. It really did swing pendulumy. And that's obviously not what you want to see when your team is, the one in the game, right? You want to see control. You want to see it work out in the same way. But as a neutral, I thought this was very entertaining. So a couple of things, off the bat. Josh Achampong played at right back. And this felt really risky to me up against Ademola Lookman. And whilst Lookman was Atalanta's most effective player, especially in the first half, I thought Achampong played really well. I thought he held his own really well. He tucked inside nicely. He made a brilliant goal line block to deny Atalanta the opener early doors. And, after that early joy that Lookman had, he went touch tight. Really nice one-on-one defending at times, really stood up to him well. And again, showing that class and that talent that I think we're all quite expecting him to break through now. Maresca's been pretty stingy with his minutes and giving him those opportunities. But almost every time he's pulled on a Chelsea shirt and played this season, I've been really impressed with Josh Achampong. So a word for him before we get into the kind of tougher stuff around Chelsea. I mean, look, they took the lead in really nicely, well-worked fashion. The goal was ruled out immediately by the linesman before it was reinstated by VAR. No idea why the flag's gone up so quickly. Like, there is no way he could see. There is a massive bodies in front of him across the line. To stick the flag up like as quickly as he did felt really strange in some way. So it's a short corner. Reece James takes it. He tucks it to Neto, who's on sort of the edge of the box. Neto earns it. He kind of spins Ademola Lookman, plays it inside to Enzo Fernandez, and he plays James in behind. And that cross comes in for Joao Pedro to get across the keeper and tuck home. Now, we've had the discussion about Joao Pedro not being a number 9, and I don't want to go into all of that cliche, but this is a real number 9's finish. Like, getting across the front post, beating his defenders to the ball and like flicking it between the keeper's legs. It's a really, really good finish and a very nicely worked goal that really did reflect the state of the game, because after Atalanta had that kind of early burst, Chelsea really settled into it. And I thought that they looked really good in this period. It felt like really smart the way that Maresca was kind of managing it. And then at halftime, Wesley Fofana comes on. He replaces Trevor Chalobah. More rotation of minutes from Maresca. And bear in mind, they've done quite well in the first half without Moises Caicedo. I wondered if that was the moment to bring Caicedo into a game. 1-0 up, you're like, right, keep it tight. And look, Chelsea do have an opportunity right after the second half begins. Reece James could have made it 2-0, and he doesn't. He's a little bit unlucky. And Atalanta make them pay for it, pretty much 10 minutes after that, right? Like, really well-worked goal from them as well. Charles de Ketelaere dances through a host of challenges on the right-hand side of the box, and he just stands one up. It loops over Robert Sanchez between the centre-back and the right-back, and Scamacca, I mean, he's probably going to win the header if there's 3 players around him, but there's no one. And he just nods it into an empty net. He couldn't really miss. And the game opened up even further then, right? Like, it stretches after the equaliser, and the play starts to become a little bit ragged at times. Poor old Wesley Fofana, right? He just can't catch a break. This time, he gets caught in the eye accidentally in a tangle of bodies as they go down in the challenge with a boot. And he has to go off because he can't really see out of one eye. Now, I don't think it's anything long-term. I don't think it's anything to panic about. But he goes off with like 20 minutes to play. And you're like, this poor lad, he's just come on. He's trying to be rotated so they don't kind of overuse him. And I understand that with Wesley Fofana because he's just really struggled to stay fit. But, for him to have to go off 20 minutes after coming on and they have to make another change, and Tosin Adarabioyo comes on at that point, late on, Atalanta find a way through. You can make the decision if that's a coincidence or not. Quick thinking, quick free kick. Chelsea just caught napping, and it's Charles de Ketelaere again, right? And Chelsea stand off him as he just wanders into the area, and I think the shot takes everyone by surprise. It's a little snapshot from the edge of the area into the front post. Perhaps Robert Sanchez should have done better with it. I've been really, really positive about Robert Sanchez this season, right? I think he's been very good. I think we've seen an improvement in pretty much all aspects of his game. I think his cross-claiming has been excellent. His distribution's improved. But his kind of shot stopping has never hugely been in question, right? Like, that's always been one of the stronger parts of his game. I do wonder if he should do better with this because it sort of squirms off him and into the roof of the net. And the strange thing about this, Dean, is that at 2-1, Chelsea then go up in tempo, they go up in intensity, they really dominate the last 10 minutes or so of this game. They create a number of opportunities, but no dice. But sometimes that happens. And you do wonder where that was at 1-1, and if they could have found a way to actually take the game to Atalanta to quieten the crowd. And in that regard, I think is why it feels like a bit of a chastening defeat from a Chelsea perspective. Not because it's any great shakes to go to Bergamo and lose. And I know that people, and I was watching, a variety of different screens as usual to try and keep across all the games. But on the Goals Show, which I normally have the commentary on for because it tends to cover all the bases, Martin Keown was talking, and God bless him, man. Like, Martin Keown was incredibly funny tonight in that he just sort of had clearly done some research, and he was like talking about stats, and he was talking about Atalanta when he was like, they're in a terrible run of form. You see the result of the weekend. I was like, No, the result of the weekend was like the end of a very good run of form under Palladino, where they felt like they'd worked it out. And then they played in a very strange game at the Bentegodi where there was fog everywhere. And yeah, it's a bad loss to Hellas Verona, right? Like, absolutely no doubt about that. But like, I don't think that quite tells the story of where Atalanta are. They feel like they're back on the up under Palladino. It feels like the front three are starting to connect. Skamaka, Ketelara, Ademola Lookman, who have kind of settled back in. There feels like an energy about Atalanta again. And I think you could tell that in the stadium tonight, that there felt like that energy there. And so to lose in Bergamo is no great, embarrassment. I'm not suggesting like that. This is a very good Atalanta side still, even without Gasperini at the helm. But I think the fact that it felt like the game was in Chelsea's control and they let it slip is the thing that for me will probably frustrate Chelsea fans. And it means that all three of their away games in the Champions League so far this season, they have not won any, which is interesting.
Well, Maresca keeps saying, I'm learning, but is he? Because there are some lessons that keep being repeated.
Yeah, I mean, look, he'll probably point to it and say, at the start of the season, we said one of the reasons that Chelsea might struggle, towards the back end is because they had to play in the Club World Cup, and obviously they got to the final and won that competition. Like, they played every minute you could in the Club World Cup after a long season that included Conference League last year. Were they going to burn out? He's trying to rotate players. He's trying to make sure the minutes are managed. So I can understand that. I still think maybe I would have brought Caicedo on at halftime.
Yeah. As I keep saying, I'm trying to give managers the benefit of the doubt these days and being like, okay, they understand their squad limitations better than we do. They are being told by medical staff what is and isn't possible and being told what they are and aren't allowed to do. And we don't hear all the inner workings of it. So I always assume when there's something glaringly obvious that it's actually not that obvious because the manager is being restricted in what he can do. But there are things with Maresca that keep being repeated, and I'm starting to wonder why. But yeah, Chelsea, they've just got to still find that consistency that we've been waiting for. They're coming on. They're coming a long way this season. They're best. They're very, very good, but they've still got these faults that are going to hold them back in all competitions, I think. So I'd say that is, I'm going to say a learning curve, but they've had enough of that. They've got to stop doing that and start putting that into action.
I think there still feels like Maresca obviously has a better squad at his disposal than he did last year. There still feels like that kind of rotation that he did in the Conference League is seeping into the Champions League. And like what we've seen is you can't really get away with it in the same degree. So it's interesting, but especially in these away games, Chelsea have struggled. And I don't think that's a coincidence with the amount of rotations going on. Equally, if that means they have a squad that is able to compete on multiple fronts to the end of the season, Maresca will say, well, I had to manage it as best as I could and keep us in the competitions. Equally, if they get 2 extra games now because of this, is that a net positive or a net negative? I don't know. Like, I don't understand. And we don't know the answer to that question yet. So we will see. But anyway, he feels like, again, after a period where everything had cooled down and people seem to be on side, there are big questions being asked of Enzo Maresca again. And there were big questions being asked of Thomas Frank. But now, back-to-back home wins for Tottenham Hotspur. They beat Slavia Prague 3-0. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, these are the sorts of steps that he needed to make. And last 2 games, they've now scored 5. They haven't conceded in either of those games. They obviously showed a united front in the game against Newcastle as well. So big learnings, saying Maresca, is he learning? Well, I think Thomas Frank is. Now, look, hard to judge too much here because Slavia Prague aren't that good. Like as a Champions League team, anyway, they
gave it a go. I tell you what,
they gave it a go, but they're fundamentally just worse than Tottenham, and so they're going to have to pretty much produce one of the games of their life to actually beat a Premier League team. And it just wasn't going to be there for them. And unfortunately, they weren't helped by the fact that one of their own players scored a very strange own goal to put Tottenham 1-0 up as David Zimmer. Yeah, inadvertently, he just headed it past his goalkeeper. And that was what broke the deadlock. It was a relief, really, I guess, for Spurs to just get that moment. Now, the stadium wasn't full. I've been talking on Patreon about the fact that, these are times when you're down, you've got to support your team. And Tottenham fans found that hard at times, and they do vent their anger.
Also, just on that, and while we're on it, just something that should be raised. It's apparently partly to do with ticket prices, and the club are going to reduce the ticket prices for the Borussia Dortmund game at home after the Christmas break, which is probably worth pointing out. And look, I have zero problem with fans, basically making a stand against extortionate ticket prices in any competition. So I think that would have played a part as well. But it's not all you're talking about, I know.
Yeah. One of the journalists wrote that it was 15,000 under capacity tonight, which I don't know if that's true, but
the top tier looked pretty empty.
Top tier did look pretty empty. So yeah, if Tottenham fans are showing what their feelings by not turning up, then fair play to them, because their ticket prices are getting out of hand. And I like to see people standing up against that, of course. But anyway, the ones that did go were treated, because they've seen their team get a convincing win. Obviously, like last time out, lost to PSG. So they just need to get back to winning ways. Like Vicario had to do well at times to keep them in it. Like you say, like Slavia did have opportunities, and he stood up to those challenges. And then in the end, it took penalties from both Kudus and Xavi Simons to decide the game. And again, like this is an important step for Tottenham, because you've now got into a place where Thomas Frank has been able to ease the pressure on himself, at least in terms of results. But also I think the performances are starting to become more convincing. And of course, at home, they need to give those fans who are paying all of that money something for their money. Van der Ven got a yellow card. He will miss the next game, which is one thing that dampened the spirits of the game. And they have got a bit of a problem. So Son was at the game, obviously Tottenham attacking legend. So that was lovely, and that got the crowd hyped up. He's got a new mural near the stadium. So he was
very well.
He was being celebrated, yeah. But Tottenham's attack, so Kudus great. Xavi Simons started again here. Like Thomas Frank was being criticised for not starting him. Xavi Simons is now starting and scoring. Obviously from the spot, this one squeezes it in. But nevertheless, he's gotten the score sheet. Richarlison keeps starting. Interesting, Solanke was going to be in the squad here and then pulls out. Solanke, I don't know what's going on. Obviously, his injury wasn't supposed to last this long in the first place. And now it's still dragging on. That is a whole story in itself that I think we will be reading more about, and I should probably be digging into to be writing about, because there's something going on there with Solanke. Like, this shouldn't be dragging on. Tottenham, if that's going to drag on any longer, are going to need another striker, I would think. So anyway, Wilson Odobert started the game. Matisse Tell ended up getting about half an hour because Kudus could be rested for the latter stages, and Kolomuani ended up coming on for Richarlison. Bergvall came on for Odobert. Now, Odobert, I don't know that he'll stay at the club. I'm a bit concerned about him. Now, I think actually in the opening weeks of the season, I was quite pro Odobert, right? And in stages of this game, he started actually really well. He's so inconsistent. And somebody was saying to me in the week that he is struggling. I can't remember the exact phrase they used, but it was basically consistency, but within a game. So it's not just like week by week, but he's struggling to. Maybe it's the intensity. Maybe it's the intensity with which Tottenham play. Now, this one shouldn't have really been the case because it was a dominant performance and it's against Slavia Prague. But I do think that we've got a situation opening up eventually whereby Tottenham have just got too many players and none of them are quite good enough to fill the gap. There's Tell, there's Brennan Johnson, there's Wilson Odobert. There's Richarlison, but I think Richarlison's...
I thought Odobert looked very good here, to be honest.
Not throughout the 90 minutes, he didn't.
No, that's fair.
Yeah, that's it. Like, you've watched on a highlights reel, he will look good in this game. But dig a bit deeper, and it's just... You've got to have the thing is, what you've got to realise is that Tottenham are lifting their expectations right now. And I don't think Odobert is going to quite meet those standards because of, as I say, the consistencies within a full performance. It was just like it's just hot and cold. I'll be honest, I don't think he's good enough. So maybe I'm a bit tainted here. Maybe I've got tinted glasses on because I just don't think he's going to ever overcome the struggles that he's had so far to properly make a breakthrough. I do think he's good. I just don't think that he's good enough for where Tottenham need to get as fast as they need to get there. And knowing that they're going into the transfer market looking for another attacker, I just can't help but feel every single time that he starts to drop off a bit that he's going to be the guy that ends up just being like, you're almost there, but you're just not quite. Obviously, it comes down to personal opinion. People might have the same opinion of you that he is good enough, but I thought he was worth talking about because genuinely there were times in this game where he played great. And then I just felt that there were also periods when he wasn't good enough. And that is one of the biggest frustrations for me of that player. But overall, got to be a positive night for Tottenham. They're coming away from it with a 3-0 win and they're heading into fixtures now at Nottingham Forest and then at home to Liverpool that are very important. That home game with Liverpool could be extremely tasty and it's very good for them that they've got a taste now of what it feels like again to win at home.
Yeah, I mean, just a word on Xavi Simons, was man of the match in the win over Brentford at the weekend. Man of the match here again, given the award by UEFA after the game. Are we starting to see Xavi Simons comfortable and enjoying life again at Tottenham?
He's one of those players that he's always going to be a bit of a luxury player, isn't he? And he needs to be in a side that's winning. Anytime you're on the back foot or struggling or the crowd's against you, he's going to find it difficult, particularly when he's only just got to the club. So it hasn't surprised me that he hasn't set the world alight in the first kind of few weeks of being at Tottenham. And obviously that dragged into months. But, I know Tottenham fans that go to every game and they're like, just play him. We've signed one of the best attackers in Europe. He's exciting. We want players like him and Kudus to get on the ball, to turn defences, to give us an edge that nobody else in the league might have. And Simons is right up there in that sense. And yeah, Frank, I wonder if actually one of the reasons that he's trying to kind of save his job, not that his job was genuinely in danger, but obviously you do start to come under pressure no matter whether the board tell you are or not, is that he started to play Simons and that he started to give him these minutes and in the role that he's getting him into as well. I think it might have worked well for all that perhaps that they had that stumble. Simons goes in, they start to turn the corner and that everybody starts to feel more comfortable and confident with the situation, both Thomas Frank in the player and the player in his role within that team. He should...
And also, I think his pressing in the last 2 games has been excellent. And that's the kind of thing that, as fans, they're like, yeah, well, got an assist, got a goal, got a goal tonight. What a couple of attacking performances. The thing that Thomas Frank might well be looking at from his number 10 is how hard they press and can they lead it in a 4-4-2 out of the ball. And actually, I think that Xavi Simons has done that really, really nicely in the last 2 games.
And he's got to be a success for them because the amount of money they've gone and invested, they can't have big money failures at this point. They do want to go and spend significant money in 2026. So anybody that's going to come into the club of that stature wants to see that other players who are kind of on their level are thriving. So again, I think that it's really important that they start to get a tune out of Xavi Simons frequently, and that's starting to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Well, a big win for Tottenham Hotspur, back-to-back home wins, as we say, might just start to lighten the gloom a little bit at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Right, we're going to take a break there. When we come back afterwards, we'll round up all the rest of the action. Stick with us.
If you're the purchasing manager at a manufacturing plant, you know having a trusted partner makes all the difference. That's why, hands down, you count on Grainger for auto reordering. With on-time restocks, your team will have the cut-resistant gloves they need at the start of their shift. And you can end your day knowing they've got safety well in hand. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I like things my way. My coffee, my schedule, and my treatment. So I talked to my doctor about self-injecting with the VivGuard Hytrulo prefilled syringe, which contains efgartigimod alpha and hyaluronidase QVFC. It's injected under your skin, subcutaneously. It means I can inject in my space, on my time. It's my treatment, my way. Visit VivGuardMyWay.com. That's VYVGART myway.com. And talk to your doctor about VivGuard Hytrulo. Brought to you by Argenix.
Ah, DSW, birthplace of the humble brag. Here, the shoes are so good, no one would ever know how little you paid. If you didn't go telling everyone, that is. And with never-ending options for every style, mood, and occasion, all at really great prices, we'll definitely give you something to brag about. So go ahead, stock up on fresh sneakers from your favorite brands. Or try those boots you always secretly knew you could pull off. Find the shoes that get you at prices that get your budget at DSW stores or DSW.com.
Everybody sleeps, but no two people sleep alike. At Coop Sleep Goods, we celebrate the way you sleep differently. We believe everyone deserves a great night's sleep with their own pillow, and the adjustable, customizable Coop pillow makes it easy. Whether you're a side sleeper, a back sleeper, or even a starfish, we've got the perfect pillow for you. Crafted with our innovative memory foam and microfiber fill, our hypoallergenic pillows adjust to you, and not the other way around. Just tailor the fill for the perfect fit. Add some in, take some out, until your pillow's just right for you. See why luxury hotels and spas worldwide feature Coop Sleep Goods and why we have tens of thousands of five-star reviews. With our 100-night risk-free trial, you've got nothing to lose except those sleepless nights. Get 20% off your first order when you visit coopsleepgoods.com/podcastnews. That's COOP sleepgoods.com/podcastnews.
DC politicians want to enact harmful credit card mandates that could take away your cash back and rewards points. Perks that stretch your budget and make life a little easier. Losing these benefits means less money for your family's everyday essentials like gas and groceries. The perks you rely on could disappear, leaving you with higher costs and fewer options. Tell Congress to guard your card and oppose the Durbin-Marshall credit card mandates.
Paid for by Electronic Payments Coalition.
Welcome back to Ranks FC. It's that time of the week when Jackson runs us through everything we didn't see.
Everything you didn't see. Actually, this is where all the fun was in this kind of set of chaotic games. So we'll start with the three games that between them produced 14 goals of the Knights, 26. PSV 2, Atletico Madrid 3. I mean, first off, PSV are going to be absolutely furious that they have ended up losing this game because they absolutely battered Atleti for the first 25 minutes or so, and they should have legitimately been 3-0 up. Like, Druet, who's been absolutely brilliant in the last couple, right, sets up Goose Till for a really early opener after racing clear. Like, he's so unselfish. He goes one-on-one with the keeper and he just knocks it, and Goose Till just taps it home. But then he's at fault for missing two of the massive opportunities at 1-0 that they really, really should have taken at least one of, but probably both. Like, first, he fluffs his lines and he skews wide trying to finish a cross when like the goal is gaping in front of him. And then, almost as if that shook him from shooting, he then inexplicably tries to pass back across the goal when he's only got the keeper to beat. And you're like, oh no, that's not the same situation as the first goal. Like, it's not like he's raced through. It's come to him at the back stick and it's just fallen. The keeper's there and he's tried to play in a teammate. And you're thinking, no, my man, like obviously young and really exciting. But the game should have been 3-0. And then despite all of their dominance, their possession, PSV hand Atleti the equaliser, trying to play out for the back. And this is the yin and yang of Peter Bosch, right? Like, they create the overloads via playing out at the back that give them the opening goal and give them these opportunities. And then they make a really stupid mistake. Like, as defender caught in possession, he allows Simeone Jr. to close him down. Brawl breaks to Sorlot, and he does the same thing that Direct does earlier on. He squares to Alvarez to slot into an open goal. And Atleti must just be breathing the world's biggest sigh of relief because they get a huge boost from that. They then take the game to PSV towards the end of the first half. And at the start of the second half, they grab it by the scruff of the neck. And look, a huge shout out to David Hansko, friend of the pod. His first Atletico Madrid goal. Yeah, I'm sure he's still listening. I'm sure he's still tucked in. Ball comes out from a corner and Molina from 30 yards absolutely scorches one in. Like, it has no right to have a shot. It's parried It's relatively poor goalkeeping, I will say. It should be parried wide. It's parried back into the middle. And Hansko is there, back in the Netherlands, obviously played for Feyenoord, so scoring against PSV will matter just that little bit more as well. And he tucks it away, and the celebrations are wicked. And look, Atleti then waste absolutely no time. It's 4 minutes, in fact, to make it 3-1. Beautiful ball from Alvarez, back to goal, sort of loops one over his own shoulder to release Barrios. He stands one up for Sorloth to head home, and Sorloth deserved that because he'd been really intrinsic to all of the good stuff where Atleti had started to come into the game. PSV did make it interesting. Ricardo Pepi off the bench again, popping up at the back stick to tuck home a flicked on corner towards the end of the game. And Armando Obispo went close towards the end, but he couldn't quite get his effort on target. And ultimately, all 3 points ended up going home to Madrid with Atleti. Tell you what, Ricardo Pepi, 4 goals in his last 6 Champions League appearances, including 3 all as a sub this season. When it kind of opened up and Luke de Jong went off and he signed for Porto, it felt like this was going to be Ricardo Pepi's moment to make that number 9 shirt his own, right? And look, the reasons, the fact that he hasn't, are not all his fault. He picked up a big injury. He's still kind of recovering from that. But he's kind of still making his way as a super sub. He keeps coming on and scoring goals. And when you do that, you make a little bit of a rod for your own back because the manager's like, yeah, it's quite useful to have in the back pocket that. And he's done another one here. So, yeah, a really good game this. It's one from end to end. It wasn't the best game of the night, but it was probably the second. And a genuinely very enjoyable watch.
Yeah, he's only 22. So maybe once he gets to 23, I'll have enough of being the super sub. Because he'll be like, I'm not a kid anymore. I'm 23. Like, come on. Give me this start. Sorry if you heard a loud noise coming up my phone as well halfway through that, Jack. It was actually someone sent me a video of you, the San Diego shirt.
Well, that's good. That's good. Nice to see that we're going global. Yeah. SDFC.
Like, why is someone saying, they're like, what is Jack doing? And I'm like, oh, it's the video of him holding up his Encyclopedia San Diego shirt. Go and check it out on Jack's socials.
We do what we can, not we must. Shouts out to Yuki who sent us those shirts. All right, let's go over to Munich. Bayern won 3-1 against Sporting. They scored 3 times in 12 minutes in the second half to kind of come back from a goal down against Sporting and win 3-1 here. And it was interesting here because Bayern had almost all the chances in the first half. They completely dominated the game, right? And Sporting were kind of hanging on for dear life. Kane hit the woodwork, and Rui Silva, if you haven't seen this, go back and watch the highlights for it. He makes this outrageous stop from Lennart Karl, who also had an early goal ruled out. And then at the start of the second half, Sporting take this surprise lead. It's Joshua Kimmich with an own goal 9 minutes after the restart. And for a minute, Sporting were going second in the table ahead of Bayern, but it's a strange one. Look, Joao Smosh, by the way, with a really nice work in the build up to that goal, but also don't poke the bear. It really seemed to anger Bayern and the crowd, and they just went into hyperdrive in the next sort of 10 minutes or so. And it's a lovely, lovely corner from Michael Olise, which is headed home, volleyed home by Serge Gnabry at the back stick for the equaliser. And then finally, Lennart Karl got the goal that he deserved. And this is his 3rd goal in 4 Champions League matches so far this season. It's not quite as good as the goal that was ruled out, but it's still a very, very nice finish. And 17 years, 290 days old, the youngest player in Champions League history to score in 3 consecutive appearances. Cool. So absolutely unbelievable. I mean, look, if he carries on like this, Nagelsmann is not going to be able to leave him off the plane next summer because it's been just unbelievable in so many ways. Really quite nice. And then Jonathan Tah, who really nearly scored an own goal in the first half, and should have added, sealed the win, and he sort of got poked in from close range or so with 10 minutes to go. And from that point, it was relatively plain sailing for Bayern, who are now unbeaten in their last 37 home games in the group or league stage of the Champions League. Talk about fortresses, right? There's a fortress for you. The Allianz is really quite something. And Bayern just ticking along nicely after that demolition of Stuttgart at the weekend. Very comfortable in the Bundesliga and going really, really well. Bounced back nicely from that loss to Arsenal last time out.
Yeah, and that's not an easy game to win, by the way, because of the form that Sporting have been on. You know, they've been in very good form. Haven't lost for a while, so that is an impressive win by Bayern to show that determination as well as the quality.
Yeah, 100%. All right, should we go to the game of the night? I don't think anyone would have had this on their bingo card when they started, but Union Saint-Gilloise 2, Marseille 3, the most entertaining of all of the fun that we had in the Champions League tonight. let me just walk you through it because it was just a really chaotic game. So disaster in terms of a start for Marseille. They keep doing this. They keep going behind, right? And after losing again in Ligue 1 at the weekend, this would have been a real body blow for those who'd made the relatively short journey up to Belgium. But they just completely failed to close down Anan Khalili, who basically cut in from the right-hand side and drilled one into the near post. Really, really good goal. Really good strike. But there's no Marseille defender anywhere close to him. And USG start really quick. They have a couple of other opportunities. Marseille do get the equalizer and they start to settle into the game. Some lovely work in the middle between Matt O'Reilly, Igor Paixão, and Artur Vermeeren. And ball comes out to Aubameyang, who has a strike from close range and really should score, if I'm honest. But the keeper, Sherpen, can only split into the path of Igor Paixão. And it was his 4th Champions League goal of the campaign with the equaliser. Absolutely roofs it into the top of the net. And look, USG wobbled and then they steadied. And just as they were getting a handle on the game again, they were undone by a brilliant counter-attack. Mason Greenwood bursts clear, plays this 1-2 with Aubameyang, and then holds off a challenge to squeeze home the goal that sends Marseille into the break ahead. And they made a change at halftime that meant that they were more defensive at the start of the second period, but they carved out this beautiful third goal around the hour mark. And you wondered if that was that really after this. Aubameyang finds Matt O'Reilly. I want to speak about Matt O'Reilly in a second, but he played a really lovely pass into Greenwood and he drove inside and slammed home his second and Marseille's third. And look, Matt O'Reilly has been missing for a couple of games. He's not necessarily nailed down a starting spot. De Zerbi clearly wanted him at Marseille this year after seeing what he could do at Brighton. And the midfield looks so much more comfortable and so much more creative when he's in there. That interplay with Vermeeren and O'Reilly together really does open up games for them and does open up chances for them to be able to take. And he really does feel like he's starting to become quite a key component, I think, of this Marseille side when they're at their best. However, the game went a bit mad at this point. USG weren't done. They brought on Sofiane Boufal, and he should have scored early on. Rui made a good save after a defensive mishap. A second time round, the Argentine keeper was found wanting, completely flapped across from the left-hand side. It bounced to Khalili, who fired home his second. And then the drama just sort of upped again. So USG thought they'd equalised twice, but had both ruled out for offside by VAR. So Kevin McAllister, not the one from Home Alone, although timely, he kind of forced the ball home, but VAR intervened to rule out that strike. And USG just went up another gear and promised Akinpelu would come on as sub, played through one-on-one, started home, again ruled out. And tell you what, talking about redemption arcs within the course of a game, Rui, who's at fault for the goal that brings USG back into it, makes an unbelievable reflex save from Akinpelu's header at the far post to make up for his earlier mistake. Save 2 points for Marseille. Much needed win. It's been a little bit of a wobbly couple of weeks from a Marseille perspective, but a good win north of the French border. And they'll be very, very pleased to take those 3 points back home with them. Also, just a word for Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Didn't score here, but set up 2. Only Kylian Mbappe has been directly involved in more Champions League goals this season.
Wow.
That is pretty nuts for the old boy.
Yeah, mate, same for Mason Greenwood, by the way. I mean, 13 goals, 4 assists. I mean, you might not like him, but the lad knows where the net is.
No. Yeah, that is very much true.
That's most people's opinion right now.
yeah. Good at doing the goals.
It'll be interesting. Look, the way Greenwood's playing, it has to be addressed that he is in very good form, and there are teams out there that obviously have a temptation to go and sign him because of his playing style and are just held back because of all the PR nightmare that would come with it. And at some point...
They're held back by the actions that he's committed, not because of the PR around it.
Someone will take a chance at some point soon. I'm convinced of it, but I don't think it'll be anyone in England. I'll go that far.
I don't think so either. And I think that's probably correct. Right, let's go over to Monaco. They won 1-0 against Galatasaray. The Monaco are the weirdest team in the world to try and get a handle on. They make absolutely no sense whatsoever. I've been watching Monaco games recently to try to work out what Pocagnoli is trying to do with this team. And 5-6 games where I've watched full 90s of them later, I still haven't got a clue what they're trying to do. They've lost 4 in 5 in Liga, including at the weekend. Reckon see if you can guess who the one team they beat in that time was.
Well, I already know. I know my French football isn't great, but I know that they beat PSG.
Ruins the quiz a bit, that one. Your one win in 5 is against the league leaders and the reigning champions and the best side in the division. They create an absolute heap of chances. They miss a penalty that Minamino does brilliantly to win, and they still find a way to keep themselves alive. No idea, by the way, why Dennis Zakaria has decided he's the guy taking the penalty and then produces one of the worst penalties I have ever seen. Awful from the skipper. I suppose he's trying to take responsibility, but he's bailed out by Flo Balogun. So 2 USMNT strikers on the score sheet in the Champions League tonight. He scrambles home from a corner to give them the lead. I did feel a bit bad. Galatasaray just changed their keeper, right? Literally seconds before the corner because their first choice keeper had gone off injured. He flaps at it and it goes in. His first touch is to pick up the ball out of the back of the net and such a state. Yeah. It ended 1-0 to Monaco. That's going to be a long old flight home for the boy.
Absolutely.
Unlucky. Right. The last game to head on to is Kairat Almaty, who lost.
They're always last on this
Olympiacos. Show. They weren't last. Yeah, they're always last on this show.
We'll lead with them next time.
Look. We need them next time. We'll get them next time. Olympiacos' first win in this season's Champions League, and it does keep their hopes of progress alive. They're 2 draws and a win now from their 6 games. Finally able to stick a dub in the win column. And to be honest, they should have won this by 5 or 6. Really, really brilliant keeping from Semelan Anabekov. Easy for me to say. Unbelievable goalkeeping. That kind of inspired stuff. So he made 3 unbelievable saves from El Kaabi. He makes an unreal stop from Chiquinho, and he's finally beaten with about 15 minutes to play, and my heart broke for him, right? Because he just put in one of those displays. You're like, no, when you're playing or your team's playing, and you're like, we're just never going to score today. It doesn't matter who it is. I remember Fulham having one against Arsenal with Vito Manone in goal, and being like, I don't think he ever had another good game, but he just had an absolutely inspired day at the office against us. It was a really good goal, a lovely strike from Gelson Martins after a nice assist from Mehdi Taremi, and even then. Shouts out to Anabekov, because even then he wasn't dumb. He pushed Taremi's next effort onto the post. He pushed El Kaabi's final attempt onto the crossbar. You were like, wow, this guy has done everything he possibly can. He was the story of the game, the star performer. If he didn't get man of the match, I'm going to be absolutely livid. I'd turned over to the other games by that point. But if he doesn't, but anyway, this was... a big one for Olympiacos because it ended a streak of 12 consecutive away defeats in the Champions League. So for them to finally get a win and keep their hopes alive, they still need to really win both, I think, to qualify, even for the playoffs, which is a big ask. But it keeps them alive for the time being at the very least. So poor old Kairat have struggled, but we kind of expected them to.
Yeah, well, they play Arsenal next month, mate, so maybe that one won't be last. It probably won't be first. But it won't be last.
It probably won't be first. We'll be honest. But Kairat, to be fair, mate, they are at least 1 point better off than Ajax. And that is something they can take home with them.
I mean, how has that happened? How have Ajax got into this state?
They're also on the same points as title chasing Villarreal in La Liga.
Right. It's not good, but they do have Karabag next. They won't win. They won't win.
There you go. They might. They won't. They won't. That's a big one. Karabag have been unbelievable. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant Kairat did.
No.
Ajax have Karabag next.
Ajax have Karabag.
Ajax are going to get pumped.
Yeah. That's what I mean. They won't get another point. They won't get the point. On paper, you'd be like, oh, they've got Karabag next. Yeah.
Mate, Karabag well on course for qualification. They win tomorrow. They're still on they're on the same points as Barcelona. Karabag have been the story of the Champions League so far this season. And with that, we look forward to tomorrow and another episode of Champions League Takeaway. So all that's left for me to do for now is say thank you very much to Mr. Dean Jones.
Cheers, mate. See you tomorrow.
I've been Jack Collins. This has been Champions League Takeaway, looking back at all of the action from Tuesday night. We hope you enjoyed, and we hope we'll see you again tomorrow, Rank Squad. Take it easy. Peace.
If you're the purchasing manager at a manufacturing plant, you know having a trusted partner makes all the difference. That's why, hands down, you count on Grainger for auto reordering. With on-time restocks, your team will have the cut-resistant gloves they need at the start of their shift. And you can end your day knowing they've got safety well in hand. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I like things my way. My coffee, my schedule, and my treatment. So I talked to my doctor about self-injecting with the VivGuard Hytrulo prefilled syringe, which contains F-gartigimod alpha and hyaluronidase QVFC. It's injected under your skin, subcutaneously. It means I can inject in my space, on my time. It's my treatment, my way. Visit VivGuardMyWay.com. That's VYVGART MyWay.com. And talk to your doctor about VivGuard Hytrulo. Brought to you by Argenix.
Come to DSW for the shoes, stay for the fun. Because let's be honest, if shoe shopping isn't fun, are you even doing it right? So go ahead, try something new. Try something different. Good different. Try something that feels like you. You know, the real you. And then definitely brag about it later. Because at DSW, you've got unlimited freedom to play. With sneakers, boots, and everything in between for every style, mood, and occasion, you'll definitely find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. DSW, let us surprise you.
Everybody sleeps, but no two people sleep alike. At Coop Sleep Goods, we celebrate the way you sleep differently. We believe everyone deserves a great night's sleep with their own pillow, and the adjustable, customizable Coop pillow makes it easy. Whether you're a side sleeper, a back sleeper, or even a starfish, we've got the perfect pillow for you. Crafted with our innovative memory foam and microfiber fill, our hypoallergenic pillows adjust to you, and not the other way around. Just tailor the fill for the perfect fit. Add some in, take some out, until your pillow's just right for you. See why luxury hotels and spas worldwide feature Coop Sleep Goods and why we have tens of thousands of 5-star reviews. With our 100-night risk-free trial, you've got nothing to lose except those sleepless nights. Get 20% off your first order when you visit coopsleepgoods.com/podcastnews. That's COOP sleepgoods.com/podcastnews.
Corporate megastores are spending millions lobbying D.C. politicians on one-sided policies that send small businesses tumbling. They want to enact harmful credit card mandates that take resources away from your local credit union and community bank, leaving Main Street businesses with less access to credit, making it harder for your family to pay for everyday goods like gas and groceries. Tell Congress to guard your card and oppose the Durbin-Marshall credit card mandates.
Paid for by Electronic Payments Coalition.